What is up, everybody? Welcome back to JetKoa Sports. Today, we've got three big sports topics to get into. The NBA playoffs are heating up, the NFL draft is in the rear view, and we can finally judge it. And MLB power rankings are starting to tell us who's real and who isn't. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the recap of the NFL draft, where the chaos is done and the opinions are only getting louder. Some teams nailed it. Some teams got cute, and a few picks already look like they're going to be debated all summer. I talked in my last video about a few teams that needed to really nail the draft, the Miami Dolphins being one, both New York teams, and the Dallas Cowboys. I will talk a little bit about all of those teams, plus a few others that I like the draft of, starting with the Raiders. They're the number one pick, got Fernando Mendoza. Awesome. We've already known that's going to happen. And I do like the fit. The rest of their draft, they continued to add to that defense. So the Raiders' defense is going to be real next year. They did not get any pass catchers for Mendoza, but he still has Bowers. He still has Genty. I think he's going to have a decent little offense, and the defense can be the quarterback's best friend. They also went and got Jermod McCoy, who is arguably the best cornerback talent-wise in this draft. He just missed all of last season with a knee injury, and I'm not going to get too into that, but the knee injury sounds pretty serious and involved. Like replacing cartilage, it could be an issue for him long-term. So that's why they were able to get him late in the draft. But again, talent-wise, arguably the best cornerback in the draft. Cowboys got Caleb Downs. Fantastic pick. I still believe, I wanted them to take Bain at number 12, but moving up one spot for some fifth rounders to get Caleb Downs, who is a day one starter, who has a high football IQ, it's a great move for them. It's going to solidify their secondary. He's going to help train up the younger guys because, again, his IQ is awesome. They went and got some edge pieces in Malachi Lawrence, Jashawn Barham, and LT Overton. I think that's going to help their pass rush tremendously with their defensive tackles that are studs. The Cowboys are going to have a good line. It's going to be a tough line. I like the draft for the Cowboys. They always draft well, and they did it again. They did it again. The Giants. Wow, did they have a good draft. Arvell Reese falling to them at 5 was not expected by most pundits, probably not expected by most teams, probably not expected by the Giants. But are they happy to have him? Damn right they are. Arvell Reese is a beast. They can play him now at inside linebacker while he trains up on the edge, and they can spot rush him. They can have him play edge a very small amount while he's learning the position, because they also have a full front seven that's stacked. They traded their defensive tackle Dexter, but they got a lot of pieces on that line, and Arvell Reese is just going to add another big, fast, talented player to that defense. It's a great move. Harbaugh is going to love him. They also got offensive tackle Francis. I'm going to butcher this again. Mauigoa. I talked about him last week a little bit, and when I was talking about the draft prospects, and he's an awesome fit for the Giants as well. They have their left tackle, but he has been somewhat injury prone, so getting Mauigoa to help on the line as a backup there, slide him in, he can play guard now probably. I think it's a fantastic move just to get another awesome body on that line. Their defense and offensive line, they solidified them tremendously during this draft, and games are won in the trenches. The Giants are building some tough trenches. The Jets, I think they had a great draft. I do question their second pick, but we'll get to that. David Bailey out of Texas Tech, best pure pass rusher in the draft. Day one starter, day one going to help the Jets get a lot better. Then they went and took tight end Kenyon Sadiq, and I love this guy's talent. I love his athleticism. But as a middle first round pick, especially on a team like the Jets, I don't think it's the greatest idea. That's more of a luxury addition in the first round, in my opinion. When there are pass rushers out there that would have helped them tremendously, there's just other people out there that they could have gotten. So that does make me scratch my head. But then they went and got Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Fantastic wide receiver. That's a great move to add to a decent receiver core, right? Garrett Wilson, the dude out of Indianapolis, and now Omar Cooper. I like what they got going there. Cornerback D'Angelo Pounds might be a day one starter. That's an awesome draft pick as well. And then just filling out their draft, they did a great job. The Browns, Cleveland Browns had a fantastic draft. There was no quarterback available. The Browns obviously need a quarterback, but there wasn't one worth taking. So they went and got offensive tackle Spencer Fano, which is a fantastic idea. Build that line, keep building the trenches, and next year you can come back and get your quarterback. They'll be picking in the top half of the first round next year. They'll be able to find a quarterback. Then they went and got weapons for the next quarterback. Wide receiver Casey Concepcion, and then wide receiver Denzel Boston. Fantastic additions. And, yeah, whoever's playing quarterback next season and in 2 seasons is going to love those draft picks. All 3 of them. Offense tackle, 2 wide receivers. Great stuff by the Browns. The Miami Dolphins they ended up having 13 picks after it was all said and done. And they got a lot of players. They had a lot of needs, a lot of positional needs, and they drafted a bunch of different positions. They're trying to fill out the roster. They just spent all offseason shedding talent, shedding salary. So they have to replace a lot of pieces. And this is how you do it. 13 draft picks, right? I do think getting Proctor with their number 1 pick is a head scratcher for a team that needs so much help immediately. To take a flyer on your first round pick at offensive tackle, I think it's an interesting move. And it's ultimately going to judge Miami's draft. Like, they're going to have a couple of receivers that might pan out, and then Proctor. And if they get a receiver to pan out, be a starter, and then Proctor turns into a left tackle that plays for 10 years, this draft was awesome for the Dolphins. But outside of that, it's kind of a head scratcher, and just like, we'll wait and see. It would have been nice to get a day one starter, like a for-sure day one starter out of the draft, out of 13 picks. But I digress. Now moving to the NBA playoffs, where the pressure is already building in the first round. The Knicks, talked about them past couple weeks, they are under a microscope. The title contenders are starting to separate themselves, and every game now feels like it could swing the series and the entire conversation. The Orlando Magic won Game 3 on Saturday night. They're my big upset pick of the first round, and it is still alive. Game 4 is on right now, so I can't wait to get off and go watch that. My other upset watch in the playoffs was Wolves-Nuggets. And while the Wolves have control of the series right now, they lost some very big pieces and the key piece to their team. Defense wins titles, and the Wolves' D is really good. Gobert has confused the Joker. Like I said pre-playoffs, and other pundits have been laughing at that notion. Well, look at me now. You add great perimeter D to Gobert with Anthony Edwards and J.D. McDaniels, and the Nuggets were going to be in trouble. You take away Joker's passing lanes with great perimeter defense, shutting down those options, and Gobert is a lot more effective straight up on Joker. In my head, it was going to work out this way because their team defense is that good. But after these injuries, they're in trouble. I mean, losing Anthony Edwards is huge. DiVincenzo, huge. That's your backcourt. You just lost them. Hopefully, Anthony Edwards can get back in round 2 if the Wolves make it. But I think the Wolves' postseason is now doomed, and that's a bummer. We get robbed of great performances, great careers because of injuries, and it is a bummer. I really hope Ant-Man comes back strong. He's a top 5 player in this league. We need him out there balling. The Knicks, they're now on upset watch. I can't believe that. Like, wow. I've touched on the Knicks in my last 2 videos, and I do still feel like the Knicks should win this series. But Atlanta's a lot better than people thought, and their athleticism gives the Knicks fits. It's going to be a fun series to watch. I was going to talk last video about how the Knicks needed to use Cat and the mismatches he creates to win the series, to take advantage of Atlanta. And the Knicks lost Game 3 right before I recorded the last video, so I changed and just talked about what is wrong with the Knicks. But Game 4, it seems like they figured that out. And Cat was extremely dominant, and they chose to use those mismatches, and Cat rewarded him with a triple-double. He had a fantastic game. That's what the Knicks need to do. Get Cat involved early and often. Jalen will do his thing, and then you got a chance to beat the Hawks, and you got a chance in the next round. Ultimately, I do feel the Hawks are going to tire them out so much that the Knicks aren't going very far this year. San Antonio Spurs are back, baby. I felt scared for the Spurs. I felt scared for Wemby in his head. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was trying to look forward to like Game 5, Game 6, think about where the series would be and how he would be able to swing the series. But coming off a head injury, you never know. At the beginning of this last game, Wemby looked a little off. His shot was a little off. I'm sure all the talk around him and his head and whether he shouldn't play had some effect on him. He was a little bit upset at the league after the game. But anyways, back to basketball. Once the Spurs got rolling, they ended up dominating. And they had just come back from like a 15-point deficit the game before to win. And then they did it again. They were down by like 19. Came back and won by 15, something like that. And Wemby's plus or minus is absolutely ridiculous. When that guy's on the court, the Spurs should win. It's almost that simple. Watch out for the Spurs. They're back. Lakers lost a chance to sweep the series and get a lot of rest, which would have been awesome for their old roster. They are an older roster. LeBron James, Marcus Smart, those guys are old. Luka's injured. Austin Reeves is injured. Like, they needed the rest. They're playing way too much right now with all the injuries. Their rotation is getting winded. I still don't see a world where the Rockets come back. No team's ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the NBA. So I think the Lakers will be fine there, but they need the rest. LeBron is arguably the greatest player in the world, but he's getting older, and they need to take care of the guy. The Cavs are getting a fight from Toronto, which ultimately I think the Cavs will score more points and win. I would have not been too excited about this series. I don't think these guys are legitimate contenders for the title. They got a lot of great pieces, a lot of great players, but they have some flaws. And Cleveland, their best players are just too short, right? And they don't play defense. It's now, if they get Orlando, if Orlando upsets the Pistons, then the Cavs or Toronto has a decent shot of getting out of round 2. I like the Orlando Magic talent, but that matchup gives them a lot more chance to make it to the conference finals. But again, I don't expect Cavs, Toronto, or Orlando Magic to be winning a chip this year. Maybe in a couple years. Not this year. Thunder and Celtics are cruising. They're going to be fine into the conference championship. Love playoff basketball. Love playoff sports in general. Fantastic. And finally, moving to the MLB, Major League Baseball power rankings are starting to take shape after the first month of the season. The top teams are looking stronger. Surprise clubs are starting to legitimize themselves. And a few big market teams are already feeling the heat. Big market teams feeling the heat we've talked about, but Mets, Phillies, Blue Jays, Red Sox. Red Sox just fired their manager and like 5-6 coaches. That's a very interesting situation. I don't know what's going on there. I talked the other day about how players maybe shouldn't choose their coaches, but I didn't mean to do what the Red Sox did and not talk to your players at all, not get their opinion on anything. Like, they just cleaned house and did not have an explanation for anybody on the team. They have Trevor Story, their shortstop, questioning what is going on in the organization, like what's the future hold. They promoted the AAA manager to take Mr. Cora's spot in the bullpen. In the dugout. And he was the coach for a lot of their young talent in AAA in recent seasons, right? So maybe he knows how to use these guys a little bit better. Maybe he can get a little bit more out of them. I don't know. Very interesting decision, and it's not going to make the Red Sox better. I think it's going to hurt the Red Sox all season. They're going to be worse off for this mass firing. Getting to the actual power rankings, though, we got the Dodgers in first place again. Their bullpen is a mess, like I mentioned in the last video. And the injuries, but they keep winning. But injuries are the main concern, the real concern for the Dodgers and their aging roster. Edwin Diaz is out. Their bullpen was the reason they almost lost last year in the playoffs. And if they don't figure out their bullpen this year, that could be the reason they lose and do not get the three-peat. They need to figure that out. They will be trading at the deadline. And with all that said, like, Mookie Betts has been hurt for a while, and they're still winning, right? Edwin Diaz is out, their best closer in baseball, arguably, and they're still winning. The bullpen is not performing well, and they're still winning. Dodgers are a great team. Yankees come in at number 2. Previously, last week, they were number 4. Yankees have the best rotation in baseball. It's elite, and it'll get better when Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon are back. They deserve to be in the top 5, and they'll be here most of the season. Braves come in at number 3. They dropped a spot when they have the best record in baseball. However, I think the reason they dropped a spot is just their pitching has been overperforming in my eyes, and I think people expect that to come back down to earth at some point. But they have some great talent. Austin Riley is a beast. Ronald Acuna Jr. is a beast. They got great pitchers. Just a couple of them are injured right now. Atlanta's going to be in it. The NL East is theirs to lose in my eyes. The Mets and the Phillies, I think, will be scratching at the door. And I picked the Mets to win originally, but they just lost 12 in a row. I don't think the Mets are doing anything. Chicago Cubs coming in at number 4. They just came off a 10-game winning streak. They finally lost. And I got to give credit to Jordan Bastian of MLB.com for these stats. But the Cubs' 10-game winning streak ended with some amazing stats for historical context, They had a team OPS of 944. That's amazing. Team OPS. That's the same as Ty Cobb's career OPS. They had a 2.64 team ERA over the 10 games. Again, fantastic. That's essentially Cy Young's career numbers. Amazing. Thank you, Jordan Bastian. Cubs are good. I picked them to win the NL Central, and they started off the season a little shaky. And the NL Central is probably the toughest division in baseball right now. Everybody's above 500. Everybody's playing solid, good baseball. But the Cubs are coming back. They're starting to separate themselves from the pack, although the Reds are still in first in that division and got bumped from the top 5 from the power rankings. So that's very interesting, but I think the Cubs have an overall better roster. The Reds also have some pitching issues like the Braves, some injuries, and their pitching has been overperforming a little bit in my eyes, so I expect that to come back down to earth. So I think the rankings are right. Padres coming at number 5. Last week they were number 3. I've talked about the Padres in detail. Offense is fantastic. Pitching is fantastic. Best closer in baseball, arguably. Padres are going to be around all season. And if the Dodgers don't figure out their bullpen, the Padres and the Diamondbacks, who are number 10 on this list, might be giving them some problems in the NL West. And just to round out the top 10, we got the NL Central Cincinnati Reds, NL Central Pittsburgh Pirates, 6 and 7. Then we got the Detroit Tigers from the AL Central. Back to the NL Central with the Brewers at 9. That division is stacked. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then Diamondbacks at 10. Apologies for not doing a deep dive today in any of the sports. I had a long actual work day, and I do not want to mess up my recording schedule, so I got in here and I just kind of went off the cuff. Thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe. You can also check out some other videos right here. Appreciate y'all.